Welcome to the second in our Future of Work's webinar series. And today we're going to be hearing about the future of work and the challenges which the Republic of China is proposing that it is that we look at. This is a series which is going to be looking at the future of work and getting inputs and opinions from around the world. In our first webinar, which you can see on the IEA's YouTube channel, we heard from Australia and New Zealand. And this will be, as I've said, the second one. The third one in the series will be from Scandinavian countries, and the fourth one in the series is going to be from Southeast Asia. And as Prof. Wei and I develop these over the next couple of months, we'll start announcing more and more of these. Right, let me introduce our two speakers today, both from the Chinese Ergonomics Society. First, we're going to hear from Professor Wei ZHANG. Professor Zhang is a full professor in Human Factors and Ergonomics in the Department of Industrial Engineering at Tsinghua University, which is in Beijing. He is president of the Chinese Ergonomics Society and Secretary General of the National Ergonomics Management Professional Degree Program. His main research interests include issues around driving safety, HFE and autonomous vehicles, human AI interaction, and looking at graduate education administration. The second speaker is Dr. Liang Ma, who is an associate professor also in Human Factors and Ergonomics in the Department of Industrial Engineering at Tsinghua University. He is the Deputy Secretary General of the Chinese Ergonomics Society, and his research interests are in organizational ergonomics, and particularly looking at gig work and human AI interactions, sometimes also called HART. So without further ado, and without listening to me any further, I'm going to hand over to Prof. Zhang to take us away with the first presentation of today. What we'll try to do is we'll try to have about 40 or 45 minutes worth of presentation and then have a question and answer section after that. We'd please like you, if you have any questions, to use the Q&A function rather than use the chat function. It'll make it a lot easier for me to collate the answers and make sure that everyone has a chance to have their questions answered. Prof. Zhang, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Thatcher. Dear colleagues around the world, good morning, afternoon, evening. So it's a very honor and pleasure to have this opportunity to share with you some kind of HFE issues in a few AI application scenarios in China. So my topic will be around 20 minutes, and I will try not to provide answers, but share with you some of our observations. So the table of contents, I'm going to share with you three scenarios. So there are many application scenarios, of course. So why I'm going to share these three is because agriculture in China is the very important and the largest skill in the world for the agriculture sector. And it is also quite important for some other developing countries as well. So the other two topics, e-commerce, China has probably the largest volume of e-commerce, largest number of customers and online retailers. And it is also changing very rapidly. And the third topic, healthcare, is China probably has hundreds of millions of population now requiring high quality health management. Okay, so the first overview of AI application in China. So the total market size is over 1.5 trillion yuan, around 230 billion US dollars. So the AI application scenarios in China, including intelligent marketing, office department, and cross-department decision-making. So this is some very technical terms. For example, intelligent marketing is trying to, for example, to introduce new products to the online customers. And economic environment driving factor is because AI is considered as infrastructure to drive digital economy. For example, China's digital economy, or the digital economy market size is 1.5 trillion. So this is the year 2021, and expect to have an annual increase of over 30% in the next few years. So AI is considered as an infrastructure. The social environment driving factor is Chinese population are aging. So we need some kind of technical tools to solve this problem. So the first topic in scenario, AI plus agriculture. China's rural area population currently is around over 5 million populations. So it's larger than the US population. And China unfortunately has to farm high percentage of hill land, where large-scale farming is difficult. For example, China on the one hand has some percentage of very good farming land, but on the other hand, there are many hill lands has to be farmed. So for example, according to this data, China is the third largest country with farming land, but it has to produce the most number of volume of agricultural products to serve the huge population. Labor-intensive farming in China is getting less and less sustainable because the labor cost is getting higher and higher, and also the population in the rural areas are aging. And also low-cost automated machines are penetrating into small to medium-scale farming, which are suitable for the hill land. For example, here I have some kind of, for example, somewhere they have the greenhouse, and usually this greenhouse has to install some AI devices and use AI technologies to improve the operation of the greenhouse. And some AI powered machines has been into use. For example, let's see, how to prepare the land, how to cut the grass, and how to transport products in the rural areas, which is not a good way, for example. And the HFE issues relating to the AI application in agriculture may include, for example, the safety design for complex farming scenarios. Farming scenarios are much more complex than industrial applications, which are more standardized. And the users are the farmers, so you have to especially take care of the safety designs. And also because the users are the farmers, you have to make sure that the AI machines has to be ease of learning and also ease of use for the farmers. And also need to be ease of maintenance and comprehensive technical support in order to guarantee that the equipment works correctly in a very timely manner, because the season does not wait for the farmers. And this also results in organizational change due to the use of AI-powered machines. So formerly is labor intensive. Now the productivity is much higher with this kind of machines. And it is less hard to work with this kind of machines, but you have to learn how to use it. And then the more populations is liberated, and how to organize this kind of people it will be a new challenge in the future. And it makes farming enjoyable also, because it's not hard and everything is by the machine. You just control it either with a mobile phone or iPad. So accordingly, many residents in urban areas are coming to the rural areas to enjoy the farming, and it promoted the tour and experiencing economy in the rural areas. And once this kind of machines becomes less costly, it will be a good promotion for more other developing countries. And the second application scenario is the e-commerce customer service. For example, I just gave an example. China's e-commerce market size is more than 40 trillion Chinese yuan, so it's equivalent to around 4.5 trillion US dollars. And what's more important is the annual increase from 2020 to 2021 is nearly 20%. So the online retail alone is 13 trillion yuan with annual increase rate 40%. And the electronic export of goods is around nearly 2 trillion yuan. So the increase is around tenfold within the recent 5 years. The e-commerce customers has over 800 million, so which is nearly the second largest country if you consider as a country. And the online retailers over 10 million. But if you calculate the market size, for example, online retail divided by the online retailers, you will find that the per retailer sale is not that much, it's only a few millions. So it's not large scale companies. Most of the companies are small to medium size. And the related employees is 67 million, 67 million, which is around the population of France or UK. So I just provide 3 major e-commerce platforms. For example, Taobao plus Tmall is like by Alibaba, and JD, Jingdong, and also Pinduoduo. So their annual GMV, the gross merchandise volume in the 2021, Taobao plus Tmall is over 1 trillion US dollars, and JD and Pinduoduo like half trillion to nearly 400 billion US dollars respectively. So with so much number of online retailers, you need a quite large number of customer service. So formerly is like, the model is like a customer service director with a customer service team. And now it's gradually changing to a more complicated, but more efficient. For example, the customer service director supervise the AI team and a human team. The human team is much smaller compared to the traditional one. The AI team, we usually have AI manager and also a knowledge base, the technical parts. So compared to the human customer service, the AI customer service has some kind of advantages. For example, no limit of same time, simultaneous service for the customers. And it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And it is not influenced by humans' emotions, stress, and health. And it can keep continuous learning and improvement by the AI. And also the average cost is only around less than 20% of the human customer service. So in China, especially, the advantages include the development of AI technology and also the same language and culture in one country, and large quantity, high demand, so much large size, and also reduce the cost need. So now it's like from the left to the right, a new model. And for this kind of model, the human HFE issues include, for example, the customer experience and satisfaction. It should be effective, efficient, preferably to be insensible, and the interaction design in terms of technical and measurable aspects. Customer service representative workload, the real human workload. Formerly is a human to human, now is a human supervising, helping the AI agents to the customers. So the workload monitoring, for example, the task allocation, the work rest cycle for the human representative will be new topics. And the human AI interface design, the optimization, and make sure that it is effective and efficient. human AI integration in the future, and optimization of AI, including the text voice recognition, FAQ optimization, and delivering seamless switch from AI to human customer service representative, and also new organizational model of labor force, for example, gig work, which Professor Ma will be mentioning. But unfortunately, currently, there are many problems experienced with AI customer service. So it's listed here. So according to a survey, over 95% participants have used AI customer service, and only 40% feel well. The third application scenario is AI plus healthcare. So Chinese population are quickly aging. So it currently has nearly 300 million population aged 60 years old or older. So it's nearly like the US total population. The economic condition has been quickly improved. So as shown by this, if you divide it by the world population into 6, for example, steps, depending according to the GDP per capita. So China is like in the second step. So just below the high income countries with around 10,000 US dollars per capita. So with this kind of economic improvement, the demand is also increasing. The new healthcare technologies, including smart wearables, AI, 5G, big data, and so on. And also the Chinese policy. They have a 2030 plan outline for healthy China. So all this has made this kind of change. For example, the chronic disease management. In China, the most frequently occurred diseases like the diabetics, high blood pressure, and overweight. The elderly care industry promotion. The government as well as the industry are working hard to promote the industry, but unfortunately, due to the population structure currently, so we have less young labor force, and graded diagnosis and treatment framework. So the traditional hospital system is not insufficient. It has to be expanded and improved with the technology and also organizational improvement. And the rural residents, for example, much more serious aged people and other challenges in the rural areas. Actually, the problem of aging in the rural areas is much more serious compared to the urban areas. And improved personal awareness due to the economic improvement. So most people, more and more people prefer to live, they wish to live longer and also healthier. So the design, currently the change has been observed. For example, moving forward to intervene earlier. Formerly is only when you are sick, you see the doctor, you visit the hospital. So currently, some healthy people are getting more and more aware of the problem and goes for some kind of interventions by technologies, by exercise, by some medicines to convert to be more healthy, to be healthy. So only when he's sick, they will go to the hospital. And with these kind of technologies, for example, take an example, the glucose monitoring and the AI suggestion. So with the technology, smart wearables, if the device keeps monitoring of your glucose level. So by this kind of monitoring and AI algorithms, they can help you to manage your meals and exercise. And jointly with medicine treatment, it is more easy and more possible to keep your glucose level at a normal level. The same is for example, blood pressure control or your regular exercise management. So in the rural areas, by the use of AI devices, are more possible to connect the children in the cities, the parents in the rural areas, the village doctors, practitioners, and also hospital doctors, those kind of parties to connect together to improve the healthcare management situation. So for example, with this kind of device, the AI device, it can connect different parties. For example, for the supplier side, including the doctors in hospitals as traditionally, but there are some newcomers, for example, community and village practitioners, health managers, health assistants, technical support team, and medicine service forces. So more and more jobs are created with this kind of AI technology. So the issues related, including, for example, the smart wearables provide monitoring of health indexes, and it has to be accurate, and it has to be ease of use, and it has to be cost effective. And the trust of AI. The users need to have a trust of AI. So your design, interface design has to make sure they trust the device or the technology. And your persuading algorithm design, try to improve your algorithm. And health risk perception and compliance to AI suggestions for the customers. So the illustration of the monitored index has to be well designed and appropriate involvement of doctors at a good time in a good way. The organization of a new healthcare system. So the emerging need of healthcare, health managers and assistants, and the long-term effect, expected longer and healthier life, of course, and also improve the service capacity to expand the traditional hospital capacity. So finally, the conclusions from these three scenarios. So AI has been and is being quickly applied to many new scenarios in China. Of course, not limited to the above mentioned ones. And the future work with AI has some new features. For example, new type of jobs created, technical support needed, and reduce the cost compared to the human, to the labor force, and less temporal and spatial limitations, especially in the rural areas. The AI applications not only lead to new HFE issues that needs to be addressed, but also result in organizational changes, of course, and more, not limited to the changes. So that's all of my observations that I am going to share today. So Professor Thatcher, that's all for my presentation, probably next to the Professor Liang Ma.
Thank you very much, Prof. Zhang, for that really interesting presentation. I've got at least 2 pages worth of notes from there. I'm going to hand over now to, if you just stop sharing, and Prof. Ma will take over. Just while we're doing the handover, we've designed this presentation format in such a way that what we do in each regional area is we put together someone who is a well-established researcher or practitioner with someone who we might call an emerging researcher or practitioner. So in this particular case, Liang Ma is what we might call a look at a rising star in this particular area. Prof. Ma, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, for the introduction. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my colleagues and friends. So today is my great honor to make a presentation on introduction about the gig work in China and its related HFE issues. So I will, okay. Yeah. The table of contents of my presentation, including 4 parts. The first part is to make a brief introduction about the gig work in China. And then I will post some new HFE issues in gig work. Yeah, and then I will try to list some possible countermeasures and some ongoing work in China, try to solve those issues in China. And at last, I will draw some conclusions from my observation. So the first thing is to make a brief introduction about gig work. The gig work here in the economy refers to the short-term arrangements typical of a musical event. So, but right now it is often used, refers to labor markets that are characterized by independent contracting that happens through, where, and on digital platforms. So there are lots of synonymous in English try to describe such kinds of work like contingent work or some casual and non-permanent work. But in China, we often use this word flexible employment in China to describe workers who engaged in such kinds of employment. There is a very important term, the digital platform, which is often used in gig work. So gig work is kind of new type of firm. This type of firm provides the infrastructure to intermediate between different user groups. Yes, as we know, like Uber, Amazon, Mechanical Turk, and Deliveroo. So those are famous brands, so all around the world. And often this kind of term displays monetary tendencies driven by network effects, which means only the top one or top two firms can survive in the market. If you rank less, normally this kind of firm cannot survive. And those firms employ cross-subsidization to draw in different user groups, because the number of users is the key factor to determine the success of such kind of term. If with a great number of users in this platform, those kinds of firms could achieve a great success. And of course, the term has the most important competencies: design a co-architecture that governs the interactions among different groups. If we take a look at the employment types, on the left side, we can see some traditional employment types. On the right side, this is the gig work. So it includes some capital platform work such as Airbnb, but today we are going to talk about crowd work and on-demand app work, which is our focus. So let's take a look at about the economic size of gig work in the world. In 2019, the global market size reaches to $204 billion. And in different countries, the USA, Europe, Japan, and Australia, there are lots of people who engaged in those in gig work. For example, in the USA, the 34% of labor force participates in gig work, and the participants reaches to a number of 53 million. And it is projected that in 2023, over half the labor force would join the gig economy in the US. So which means the gig work is still increasing in the future, and it could be a trend all around the world. If we take a close look at the situation in China, we can find those numbers, those digits. The scale of the sharing economy in China reaches to, so in 2020, we have about participants or the users of gig economy, we reached to 830 million. And if we check the employment or flexible employment in the gig economy, there were 200 million employments. So we take a close look at the labor force population in 2020 in China, that 800 million, which means 1/4 of the labor force joined the take a job or take a work in gig economy. And the service provider via online platform is about 84 million. So it's a huge number. And of course, the platform also offers quite a lot of job opportunities. The employees in the platform companies around 6 million. We take a look at the market structure. So the market structure reaches to 3,700 billion RMB. It's more than $500 billion in 2021. The main sector includes two parts. The first part is the life service. So around the 46%, such as food delivery, express, etc. And in terms of transportation, there are about 6 of this market, including ride-hailing and shared bicycles. So the table below shows the numbers of users. So the users of ride-hailing in China in 2021 around 400 million, and the food delivery is over 460 million. And so they both occupied quite a large proportion of the market. So this is the current situation. And if we take another look at the two typical companies, the first one is Meituan, is the first food delivery or life service platform in China. So we take a look at those numbers. The daily active riders, according to a report, it's over 1 million. It includes two parts. One part is dedicated delivery riders, another one is crowdsourced riders. And its scale in 2021. And in this year, it received about 5.2 million riders and received 14.4 billion orders in 2021, which is a huge number. And the top one ride-hailing platform is Didi. So annual active drivers is over 15 million, and they have business in 15 different countries. And if we count the numbers of cities, there are more than 4,000 cities and towns. The annual active user is also a huge number, is 493 million, and average daily transactions in 2021 is about 41 million. There's another group which is overlooked in China. It's the truck drivers. So we mentioned the truck drivers since not only because we have a huge number, it's over 17 million truck drivers. Another reason is the majority of those truck drivers are self-owned truck drivers or self-employed. So that's why the gig economy in China is huge in size, and we need to handle those issues in those situations. In order to know the gig economy, I want to explain a little bit how gig economy is organized, or how gig work is organized. Here we take the food delivery as an example. So normally the customer just put their order or place their orders through app online, and the restaurant will prepare the food, and then the task will be assigned to a rider. A rider will pick up the food from restaurant and then deliver the food to the customer. But the case is, what kinds of problem we need to solve? We take an example of Meituan food as example. So in peak hours, there are about 24 million orders, and there are about 600,000 riders in the platform. And we need to solve the task assignment within seconds. And we need to deliver those food effectively and assign those orders to available riders appropriately. So the solution is, human is not capable of handling this task, but who will do this one? The algorithm is the only solution. So the algorithm management is trying to manage distributed human workers at a large scale. And in algorithm management, human jobs are assigned and optimized and evaluated through algorithm and tracked data. And this approach of management changes how people work in an ever-growing number of fields. That's the current situation. So traditionally in human factors and ergonomics, we put people in the center, and we analyze different factors which might influence the security, the efficiency, the performance of our workers, and try to improve the overall system performance and human well-being at the same time. So for traditional standard work, we can see that we have organizer plus worker. But in case of gig economy in platform, we just have the gig worker. The we cannot find a trace, or it's hard to find a trace of organization in such gig work organization. The only purpose, it seems now, it only focuses the overall system performance. In order to solve this problem, we consider the change of the workplace. So I use the three terms, anyone, anytime, plus anywhere, to describe this boundless workplace. So the platform is, we consider the platform as a factory. The physical factory is changing to the digital one. So we make a comparison between traditional one and platform. So the platform is a boundless, which means it has no walls. It could be global, it could be nationwide. The gig worker can work anywhere. And for the working hours, of course, for the traditional workplaces, we have the regulated and specified period. We have hours of service regulation to define those working hours. But for the gig worker, it's on demand. They might work anytime. And the workforce for a factory, we have a limited group of labor. But for a gig worker, their work are distributed. And crowd work, anyone could work in such a platform. And in terms of communication, the most important thing is in gig economy, and the gig worker need to communicate with the system where the app, where the algorithm. So it's a human to algorithm connection. There's much less human to human connection. And in terms of incentive, it's also app-based incentive, it's gamification. So those are the changes or differences between traditional workplace and platform. So we take a close look at the communication. We can find the weakened human connection in gig work. So traditional labor process control is where market or client and bureaucratic control, but all those controls are applied through human. So in case we communicate with human, we could compromise. The regulation could be a little bit more flexible. I mean, we can use our emotion to control our labors, and sometimes we can negotiate with the factory, with the organization. But in terms of platform control, all those things are integrated into an algorithm. But algorithm, a machine is rigid. The regulation is not flexible and sometimes emotionless, and the people cannot easily negotiate with the platform. So if we take a look at this picture, we can find that the platform and gig worker, they realize the market and the bureaucratic and client control through the algorithm mediated control. This one is strengthened. And all the data collection, specification, measurement, and evaluation are strengthened where the algorithm. And the informal control is weakened. So bilateral communication between the platform and the gig work is weakened. Only one direction, one unilateral direction is enforced. So this is the current situation. Another one is the current occupational health and safety issues in China. So here we take a look at the traffic violation behavior of the food delivery drivers. This is one work done by me and my colleague. We can see the red light running, using phone while riding, and riding on a motor vehicle lane. It's much higher than normal riders. But why? So we take a close look at the increasing efficiency. So in 2016, for an order within 3 kilometers, 1 hour to deliver it. And in 2017, it's 45 minutes. And in 2018, 38 minutes. And the target set by the company, by the platform, is 28 minutes in the future. Of course, we can see the efficiency is increasing, but the increasing efficiency is at a price. We take another aspect about the occupational health and safety issues of those gig workers. those gig workers are exposed to the same health and safety hazards as traditional employment. But in certain aspects, those issues are aggravated. The first thing is who is responsible for the health and safety. Normally should be the organization plus the worker, him or herself, they all together are responsible for this one. But due to the uncertainty about the employment status of platform workers, so there are new challenges to those regulations because there's no existence of employment relationship. So the organization is missing from this part. The second one is the algorithm management. It's all about digital surveillance. Everything is about the data. We use the data-driven approach, to manage it, to control the whole process. But this one is quite different from our traditional work. The third one is about occupational overload. So the gig worker could take too many orders within a very short period, or he or she could be assigned for some overqualified task. So this kind of overload could also influence their health and safety. And there are some other issues like the professional isolation, work-life balance, and social support. It's also caused by new or few human connections in the workplace, which means like today we have our colleagues, but for a gig worker, he or she might have no colleagues. There's a broken trust between the gig work and the platform, or namely the organization. The most important thing is the insecurity of income due to the precarity of nature of gig work. This is certain issues in China. But how can we handle those issues? If we take a close look at this figure, we can see that there are different stakeholders in gig work. Now, if we put the platform in the center, we could have service supplier, customer, product supplier, society, environment. And the platform, we provide those data infrastructure for the gig work. And the platform could provide direction, evaluation, and discipline to control the labor process of service supplier. But if we take a close look at those ones, we could consider the different approaches from the food delivery rider, equipment, algorithm development, and the government try to solve those issues. So at the individual level, I think one possible approach is try to nudging through tailored gamification. Nudging is a new algorithm perspective. We're trying to alter people's behavior in a predictable way without forbidding any options or significant change their economic incentives. Now, gamification is trying to change the work into a game. So we can use those game elements. We can understand the user, understand our tailored work much better using those tailored methods, and try to understand the relationship between users' characteristics and the suitable game elements, and try to provide appropriate ways to motivate our gig workers. At individual level, we could provide those personal protective equipment. For example, we could start from smart helmet, smart electric bicycle, smart delivery box, smart voice assistant, try to make their work much easier and much safer. And in China, another way is try to integrate human well-being into those algorithms during their development phase. So algorithm management, we could use it as a proactive intervention. For example, for food delivery, we could set an upper limit for picking orders in order to reduce the workload overload. We could consider safety constraints in algorithm design to increase safety. We could adjust allowance according to the weather conditions, traffic situations, etc., and to reduce the traffic violations. And for truck drivers, and we have already developed a certain algorithm with consideration of fatigue constraints based on biomathematical modeling, try to increase the safety of, by adapting to individuals' situation. For public interest, we could use some algorithm auditing, try to see if those well-beings are well integrated into this algorithm or not. And besides algorithm management, I think there's another way is trying to increase bilateral communication between gig work and the platform, try to make the work much easier. So, which means the task could be signed more fairly, and we could change the evaluation duration and frequency in order to give a fair evaluation to the gig worker. And we can also consider the user's negative rate more carefully in order to reduce the stress on gig worker. The Chinese government is now working on that, and we have already seen some policy and regulations published by the government. For example, there are some opinions on supporting flexible employment through multiple channels, and some opinions on protecting the labor rights and the interest of workers employed in new forms, and also some other ones on catering platform and effective safeguarding the rights of interests of takeout food delivery personnel. So those are the ongoing work, but I think more efforts should be done in order to improve the overall situation of gig work and in China. So by the end, I will draw some conclusions. The first one is the gig work is an emerging topic in China. It's not only in China, but in all around the world, it's an emerging topic. And gig work is greatly different from regular standard work from two aspects. One is anywhere, anytime, anyone could work in gig work. And the algorithm, instead of human, played a very important role in the management. Now, there are lots of new challenge issues require efforts from our HFE community to build a harmonious society. Yeah, that's my share, and that's my talk. Thank you very much.
Prof. Ma, thank you very much again for another really interesting talk. What I've done now is I've opened up and encouraged people to ask any questions. If you could just use the Q&A function there, that would be super. I don't see any questions in there right now, and I think that was part of that is a testament to the depth of your presentation. So thank you very much, both Prof. Ma and Prof. Zhang. I had a question. It's not really a question; it's more of a curiosity, because we're talking here about the future of work, and one of the things that sort of struck me that what China was well known for, the work that China was most well known for, was in the manufacturing industries and in the mining industries. And I didn't hear you talk about any of those. Is that because China is changing, or just these issues more important?
No, I intentionally try to skip the traditional industry because I guess that is quite more similar between China and other countries, like the AI in the mine industry or manufacturing industries, like international standardized. But in terms of agriculture, probably is very different, because usually the large agriculture countries are developed countries like the US, Brazil, and so on. The other one I talk about, the e-commerce and healthcare, is because of the very large quantity of the people, and also it's like evolve speed is very high. It's quick, so keeps changing every few years. So many new players. So for example, in the US, Amazon is like a dominant e-commerce platform, but in China there are several ones. So they keeps competing each other, and the situation changed very quickly. So definitely there are many other topics as well. So I just picked the three.
Okay, so okay, so it wasn't that it wasn't that the economy's changed. It's just that
No.
these are new and emerging trends that weren't there before.
Yes, yes.
Prof Ma, I think this is probably a question for you from Dr. Naini, who I said was originally from Iran, but he's actually in Italy at the moment. And his question is, what are the challenges for social sustainability in gig work? And I think what he means by social sustainability is, the issues around, making sure that that jobs are, you talked a little bit about, for example, the lack of career progression and issues around, possible burnout and things. So, what are the challenges or the possible solutions that HFE can provide in that area?
Yeah, I think because I interviewed with some engineers from those platform companies, and they also discussed about the possible issues of those gig workers. The main purpose is they want to increase the efficiency, but from our perspective is how can we consider the human being, especially those gig workers in those algorithms, try to increase the system performance while increasing the well-being of those workers at the same time. So in my opinion, one approach would be we should work closely with those engineers, try to see how to integrate, how to embed human well-being into those algorithms, try to make all the platform work better. But the issues of the platform could not be done only by the platform itself. It's a society issue. It's a societal issue, which means the public, the government, we need to consider all the interests of those stakeholders, try to see how can we improve those, can we handle those issues.
Yeah, I appreciate fully you don't have the answers. Those are interesting questions to kind of suggesting that's been done by variants of the distribution algorithms, or the management algorithms, I should say, rather. I don't know who this question is for. It's probably for both of you. It's a question from John, talking about, with reference to future work. How does procurement play when it comes to human factors and ergonomics? I think he's really sort of talking about issues around supply chains, in particular for all of these kinds of industries. What is HFE's role in procurement and supply chain?
So, Professor Andrew, this is quite a good question, but it's a very good question. So, in my opinion, for example, the purchase online, at least in China is the case, is the purchase online is more casual. It's not so formal. So the young people, especially the young people, they keep buying and then rejecting and refusing. So they buy something, and then when the product arrives after 1 or 2 days, they return it. So they did not make like a very serious decision making like the traditional purchase in the stores. So that's why customer service plays a significant role for the e-commerce, because they have to keep the communication more efficiently. On the other hand, of course, not only to the customer service, but also, for example, the design of the purchase procedure, and also the information you provide online. So this is a traditional topic of HFE topic, how to design the website or to design app that delivers the correct and enough information to the customers, such that you can minimize the reject rate, for example, and increase the purchase rate. But this is quite traditional. But customer service is definitely is more challenging for the e-commerce, at least in China. Probably in the US or Europe, online purchase probably is more serious than the Chinese people, customers, I suppose.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for that. Did you want to add to that, Prof. Ma? Or
I think I do not have some further comments.
So I can't tell you who this person is because my reading of Chinese characters is not good. But the question is over here, dear Professor Zhang and Professor Ma, may I ask for your suggestions and opinions about how to conduct HFE work on AI and algorithms? How do we go about doing this work? What are your suggestions for doing this work, or how do we get into doing this work?
I think we have to be integrated in a solution provider. So not work just independently. We have to work closely with, for example, the companies to solve the problems. Actually, no matter Huawei, like the leader, the pioneer in the industry, or some other countries like GD, all these kind of leading companies, actually, they more and more realize the importance of HFE in their design and delivery of their products and services. So if we work independently alone, we cannot deliver. But if we work with them, we get ourselves involved in the design, evaluation, and optimization. Definitely, we will contribute. Actually, in China, most of the new designs, they lack the concern of HFE issues. So, for example, the electric automobiles, the design of very new interfaces, actually, many designs failed due to HFE issues.
Prof. Ma?
Yeah, actually, the current system or the algorithm is becoming more and more complex, and the trust and the transparency or explainability issues has already been emerging among human and algorithm interaction. So I think I agreed with Professor Zhang that we need to work with those engineers, those researchers together in order to find the real human AI interaction problems, and then we could contribute ourselves from our human factors perspective in order to increase the coexistence or the human AI teaming performance, okay. I think.
Well, there aren't any more questions. Thanks very much, Prof. Ma and Prof. Wei, Prof. Zhang for answering those questions. There aren't actually any more questions at the moment, and that's quite fortuitous because that actually brings us right to the, unless I've missed some in the chat. Let me just check. Chat, here we go. Have I missed any in the chat? Oops, I seem to have lost the chat for myself. Here we go.
There seems no other question.
No other questions in the chat. Okay, so that's actually quite fortuitous because this has actually brought us to the end of our hour. So I would like to thank both Prof. Ma and Prof. Zhang for their time in putting these very insightful and very interesting presentations together, and to our audience for attending and for asking those very insightful questions. For those people who weren't able to make it, we will be set. We have my presentation. Make a link of this.
Hello, Andrew. I think your image is frozen.
Sorry, I froze. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem.
Hopefully, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So I was just saying thank you. I took a long time to say thank you. But thank you very much to you both, both our audience and to Prof. Zhang and Prof. Ma. I look forward to taking these thoughts further. And I'll be in contact with you in due course to discuss how we will be able to take it forward. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks to everyone else. Thanks, Fencer has made a comment over here. I think we can stop the recording now. And here we go. There we go.